Hey guys, welcome back to Fort Tarkin Gaming. I've got my wife here again,
Hello.
and we are here to talk about Jedi Fallen Order. Respawn just released a bunch of footage. It was 15 minutes of uncut gameplay at EA Play, and it's looking really good. I'm excited.
Me too. It is very exciting to see it. It looks like they did a good job for once, a quality game.
Yeah, no microtransactions, no bullcrap. It's in fact they were saying it has no DLC, so hopefully it has a long story and that it's really fun that you can go back to. But let's talk about the gameplay. So what were your overall thoughts and impressions?
I'm really excited about the gameplay. I thought that what we saw at E3 was really exciting. How you could have all these force abilities, and it looked like a really using a lightsaber looked very, I can't even think of the word for it, but like just almost satisfying to use.
Almost like weighty, like God of War like. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, weighty, like satisfying, like God of War like, just like, yes, these control, and it looked like it controlled really well.
Yeah, it looks like, in fact, the more that I was thinking Dark Souls at first, but I was like, it's not really Dark Souls. But yeah, God of War, the new one that the PlayStation just released, it's like very similar to God of War. I feel like it's basically a God of War clone, which is fine with me because everybody loves that game. I've got it. I just haven't had time to play it. But yeah, everything looked weighty and slow. It was definitely slower, and you had to really think about your movement and where you're placed in the battlefield. And you had to block the bolts, and there were a bunch of really cool force abilities. He kind of seems overpowered for what he should be, which is he's a Padawan who his master's been killed, and he's trying to hide from the Empire this entire time. But right now, I guess he's trying to rebuild the Jedi Order. Obviously, he's going to fail and probably crash and burn at the end of the game. Hopefully, Darth Vader kills him, but that would be awesome. Anyway, yeah, the gameplay looked good. There was lots of wall running. Yeah, there was a really awesome moment where he like froze a stormtrooper and he made like, I guess there's a force ability where he can make things go slower. And so he like made his blaster bolt and him go slower, and then he like pulled the stormtrooper in, and then like pushed him in front of his blaster bolt, and then let go, and then he just got shot with his own blaster bolt. Oh, there's my phone there. Here, let's silence that. There we go. But yeah, it definitely looks really good. And speaking of looking good, what are your thoughts about the graphics?
I thought they were beautiful. Like it was, so in the demo, you're in the world of Kashyyyk, and it just gave me a whole different perspective of Kashyyyk. Then again, you are like more in like the Empire's facility that they have built on Kashyyyk, so definitely a different kind of feeling of Kashyyyk that you've never experienced before. But I really liked it. It was beautiful. It was neat. And I think the only complaint is you see like a Wookiee in one scene, and that Wookiee it looked like it was from an older game.
Yeah, I would have to agree. So everything looked really good. Like it was a very impressive looking game. I really liked how it looked, except for two things that I saw. Well, maybe three. So, and one is a hard nitpick, but one of them was, yeah, the Wookiees. Like it looked like Battlefront 2015, which if you've ever seen Chewbacca in that game, he does not look good. And that's why, like, in the next game, they hired a company to go and make all the hair. Like, it's a company dedicated to making hair in video games look good. And obviously, they did not rehire this company for this game. And hopefully, they're still working on the Wookiees because they looked like garbage. It looked like the Force Unleashed, for sure. And then the character Cal, the main character, his eyes were very large. Felt like he was almost anime. Like everybody else looked fine. Like there was an awesome moment where you see Saw Gerrera, which I thought was amazing. I love seeing Saw keep showing up. I think he's a cool character, and he showed up in the Clone Wars TV show, and now he's been in live action and shown up in other things, and it sounds like he's actually voiced by the actor who played him in Rogue One. I forget his name. Yeah, so everything looked fine. But the one nitpick I had about there were some Phase 1 helmets lying around, which was cool. Nice touch. But they're clean as crap, and you're in this cave, and it's just like, if there are Phase 1 helmets in this cave, they need to be old, they need to be grimy, and just covered in crap, it would be cool, like if, the Republic came to Kashyyyk earlier on in the Clone Wars with, when they were using Phase 1 armor, they didn't have camo yet or anything, and then, these spiders that Cal fights in this game, got some clones, and, these are the remnants of that. And so I would like, just go back in there and throw some grime onto the clone helmets there.
That's actually true. I never even thought of that. Like, if there's a Phase 1 clone helmet in these caves, definitely they need to be dirty or old, because you're fighting stormtroopers. You're not fighting Phase 1 clone troopers in this game.
Yeah, it's set after Order 66, and it's more later on, I think. So just based off of the visuals of the game, it looks like, because they showed off the cover, and the AT-ATs look like they do in Rebels, which is like an earlier model of the AT-AT. So it looks like it's after, I think it's after Rebels, because in Rebels there's also an earlier version of the AT-ST, but you see the AT-ST in the game, and it is a normal one. So I think it's set just right after the events of the Rebels TV show, like right where it ends, about right there. So I think Cal's, been out there for a good 10 years or something. I think the story looks great. What do you think?
I agree. We mentioned before that Saw Gerrera was in the demo, which is exciting to see, a familiar face and get a little bit more on their story and what they've been up to during their whole entire life. Because, he's first introduced in the Clone Wars TV series for like a action role, not in like a comic book series or anything like that. But that's like the first time you see him on screen, and then you see him in Rogue One, and you kind of see the end of his life there, and you kind of, in Clone Wars you see the beginning. But we don't really know much about what he's been up to in between, and I'm sure he has tons of stories and tons of just awesome, like, movie-worthy or video game-worthy stories to be told. And so I'm hoping that we're gonna get a Saw Gerrera story involved, and much more than that. I'm hoping we'll kind of see some other familiar faces as we go.
Yeah, it'd be cool, as long as it just makes sense, and I think Saw Gerrera makes sense. So I'm glad they brought Saw Gerrera into the game, because I don't want, because in The Force Unleashed 2 they brought Yoda in, and it kind of feels shoehorned, and it's kind of like what they did with Rebels. It's like you had Yoda talking to the two Jedi in that, Kanan and Ezra, and it's just like I feel like it's a little shoehorned in, and so I hope he's not talking to Yoda. If anything, just like talking to maybe other Jedi, maybe Shaak Ti. I don't know. They've kind of gone back and forth whether it's canon that she died. There's a deleted scene where General Grievous kills her in Revenge of the Sith. But in The Force Unleashed, she shows back up, so who knows? Anyway, I just want it to make sense. Anybody who's been in Star Wars before, I want it to make sense in these future things. And I hope that Cal is just murdered by Darth Vader.
Definitely, his story needs to end tragically. Obviously his story is not a success, and it just makes more sense for that to happen in the end.
Yeah, so anyway, those are our thoughts about Jedi Fallen Order. I'm very excited for this game. I mean, I've already pre-ordered it. I want to play it so bad. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below, and remember, all is as the Force wills it.